Hello. Today I'd like to talk a little bit about a saltwater fish myth. It's one that's been personally just been bugging me a lot. I see it a lot on the forums and groups that I visit on the internet as far as people seeking information. And this one is one that just, quite frankly, lately it's been driving me up the wall. For whatever reason, somebody keeps perpetuating the idea that you need to have a certain number of years of freshwater experience before trying saltwater. And I'm going to tell you, go ahead and file that one for the inch per gallon with the inch per gallon rule as far as how useful it is. And for those of you who know anything, whether it be about freshwater fish or saltwater fish, you know the inch per gallon rule is basically just all about useless. The reason that I'm going to say that is because there are enough significant differences in the way that a saltwater tank and a freshwater tank function that no amount of freshwater experience is going to teach you a number of these things that you're going to need to know in order to set up a saltwater tank. A freshwater tank, no matter how many years of experience you have, it's never going to teach you about the function and the difference between establishing a healthy biofilter in a live rock versus freshwater tanks where you generally establish it in your filter media. It's not going to teach you anything about RODI water, unless, of course, you're a discus owner. It's not going to teach you anything about the fact that water evaporates but salt doesn't, so you need to keep your levels topped off in order to maintain salinity. These are things you're not going to learn with freshwater. You're also not going to learn about the value or importance of a wave maker power head, which simulates underwater currents. You generally don't use those in freshwater tanks. And so there's kind of, those are just a few of the items that I can think of offhand, going along with something like the use of a refractometer to measure salinity levels, where freshwater doesn't teach you any of these things. And so realistically, the truth be told, someone who has spent 3 to 4 months of researching saltwater marine environments as far as the requirements, what they need to set it up properly, what they need to do to be successful, is light years ahead of the guy who has 20 years of freshwater experience and decides to just go ahead and just jump into a saltwater tank. Those people, quite honestly, are the worst people to try and help, because they have a tendency to be a bit arrogant and not understand that, okay, despite the fact that you have all these years of experience in freshwater, you're still a newbie when it comes to saltwater, and that even a person who has even a 6 months to a year experience of maintaining a saltwater tank has a serious leg up on you in terms of actual practical experience. And even the guy who's spent months researching. I can't tell you how many times I've seen people come in to saltwater tanks and they set up their saltwater tank like a freshwater tank with gravel, bubbler, fake plants, goofy decorations, and they assume that they can just add mineral salt to tap water and they're good to go. This goes once again, back to my bad habits video that freshwater teaches you. They also are, one that I see repeatedly are people in freshwater who transfer to saltwater and they put in sand and then they put in salt water and then assume that they can put in bacteria and a source of ammonia and cycle the tank through the filter media. Well, filter media will work temporarily in a saltwater tank for something like a quarantine tank, but it doesn't work long term. You have to have live rock, which, once again, no amount of freshwater experience is going to teach you. So, for me personally, anytime I see somebody saying that you need so many years of experience with a freshwater tank before going into saltwater, I'm going to say that's useless. Useless bit of information. It's not practical. It doesn't have any bearing in reality. The bottom line is, if you want to have a saltwater tank, whether you've got 20 years of experience with freshwater or you have no experience whatsoever, is to research. Talk to the people who are in the hobby, go to the various forums, groups, look at the YouTube videos such as these, talk to people at local fish stores, and take your time and research it, do it right. As mentioned in my other videos, I'm a person with a unique perspective of having started with saltwater first, and then after about a year or so, having moved on and gotten a little 10-gallon freshwater tank. And so every time I see the people saying, well, you need so many years of freshwater experience before you go to saltwater, well, guess what? The people who are generally saying that have absolutely zero experience with a saltwater tank. They're generally people who are in freshwater who are perpetuating basically bad information. I haven't seen anybody who's experienced with saltwater who comes out and says, hey, you need to have 2 years of freshwater experience first, or, well, you need to have 3 years of freshwater experience, or you need to have 5 years, or whatever it might be. You don't need these things. What you need to do is to research what is appropriate for a saltwater tank and to look into the equipment and recommendations of people who've been in the hobby. That's the only way you're going to truly educate yourself on the basic benefits and of certain types of setups and configurations and certain kinds of equipment, what's recommended, what isn't. You know, just because I find more and more there are so many literally bad habits people pick up from the freshwater side when they come over. The saltwater hobby, the saying "fools rush in" is an understatement. You know, and the saying that nothing good happens fast in a saltwater tank is once again an understatement. You've got to take your time, you've got to be patient with it, and you got to research it, you got to do it right. Otherwise, you're going to end up throwing away a ridiculous amount of money and have nothing but frustration and heartache over your tanks. So, and that's all there is to that. So once again, there is nothing that says that you should have or need to have a bunch of years of experience with a freshwater tank, just because, once again, so many things do not transfer over from freshwater to saltwater in terms of habits, norms, ideas that you might have in how things function. There are a few basic principles, you know, basic fish care principles, not overfeeding, testing your tank water, doing water changes, and a basic understanding of the nitrogen cycle. Those 4 elements, I would say, generally are useful information that you can have from the freshwater to the saltwater side. But once again, even the nitrogen cycle is different, because in the freshwater tank you're establishing it in the filter media. In the saltwater tank, you're establishing your biofilter in your live rock or dry rock to be seeded as live rock once you get a healthy bacteria colony going in there. So anyways, those are kind of just some of the things that have just, as I said, there's things I see that come up a lot for people asking questions and just kind of bad information and misinformation, in my opinion, that's going out there. So once again, there's no amount of freshwater experience you can gain that is a substitute for researching what is appropriate for marine environments. And that's all I've got, and thanks for watching.